So, I have just seen the 9th episode of Star Wars The Bad Batch titled Bounty Lost. So yeah, this was again another really amazing episode and I really loved it. So yeah, join me, Lucamus Prime, as I review it. Now guys, a little bit of a heads up. My best friend, Operator Scissors, aka Alexander, will not be taking part in today's review for A Bad Batch, and the reason why is very understandable, being because he's on holiday in the lovely city of Tomsk, and he's got a very busy filming schedule there, working on a very exciting project of his. So yeah, I wish him all the very best in doing that, and every success, and he's slated to return home, guys, is on the 3rd of July, so that's why he's not going to be here, because he's on holiday and he's filming something. So yeah, hope you guys can understand, and if he wants to share his thoughts on the video, then Alexander, by all means, you can comment. Go through it. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Anyway, cue the intro. Alright guys, so let's begin the review for the episode. So I'm going to talk about what it's about. So and warn, this will contain spoilers, so if you've not seen it, then I suggest that you watch it before you watch this review. So here goes. So the episode begins with a chase above the planet of Bracca, with the Havoc Marauder, which A Bad Batch is on, being chased by Crosshair, which was pretty cool chase. The visuals are very spectacular. I felt like I was watching a live action Star Wars space battle because they were very good visuals. And they luckily managed to escape Crosshair by jumping into hyperspace. And Hunt is determined not to abandon Omega. And they do manage to escape with the hyperspace. And sadly, guys, that was the last we saw of Crosshair in the episode. We didn't see him again after this, but that chase was pretty good. Now, meanwhile, Omega herself is, of course, imprisoned on a starship which belongs to, of course, Cad Bane, who returned in the previous episode, on his ship called the Justifier. She's being imprisoned in a little cell with like a red laser sort of thing that prevents her from escaping. That's like a door, like an energy shield kind of thing. And she demands to Tordor 360 to be let out, but he doesn't let her go, and he taunts her, saying that her comms device has been confiscated. And he wants her to cooperate because Cad Bane doesn't respond very well to prisoners who don't cooperate well. And then Cad Bane approaches her and asks how Omega's doing. Omega tells him her name, Omega, and asks who he is, and he introduces himself to her. And she asks him where he's taking her, but he and Tordor ignore her and walk away. Omega says that her friends will come for her to rescue her, but Cad Bane claims that her friends are long gone and that no one's coming to save her, so and he tells her to sit down and there won't be any trouble. And then Tordor asks Bane if he can fix his leg, because as you may be aware, Hunter shot off his leg in the previous episode, but Cad Bane ignores him and goes into a cockpit of the ship. In the cockpit, Cad Bane then contacts Lama Su on Kamino, and he tells him that Omega's alive. And Lama Su warns Bane to keep the quarry alive. And Bane tells Lama Su to bring the credits to their coordinates. And Nala Se then tells Lama Su that she'll deliver the credits to Bane and retrieve Omega. But Lama Su does not agree and says that her personal interest in the young clone has threatened their operation enough. So instead, he sends Tom Wee to rendezvous with Bane at an abandoned facility called Bora Vio, I think it was called, or Vio, I don't know how you pronounce it. So Tom Wee is sent instead, and Lama Su orders that Omega be confined, and that once her genetic material has been removed from her to be used, he orders that Omega be terminated. And Tom Wee appears to be disturbed by this, but she remains silent. Now, meanwhile, Tordor is grumbling about Hunt to shooting off his leg, and Omega tells Tordor that she can help fix it because it's a simple booster adjustment, which she has done a bunch of times on Kamino. But Tordor doesn't trust her because she's a prisoner. Now, meanwhile, on the Marauder, Tech recognises the bounty hunter who kidnapped Omega by looking at the Republic database as being Cad Bane, the bounty hunter who had run-ins with the Jedi and attempted, of course, to kidnap Chancellor Palpatine. And Wrecker asks why the bounty hunter on Pandora, being, of course, Fennec Shand, and Bane wanted Omega, and Tech says that Omega is more valuable than they realise because she has pure first-generation DNA. And Tech explains that all clones were created from Jango Fett, and Omega is a pure genetic replication, and there's only one other clone that's just like her, which is, of course, Boba Fett. So, yeah. And Omega is the only living source of Fett's raw material left, because Boba Fett has, of course, gone missing, during the Clone Wars at the start of it. And Tech realised that the Kaminoans must have put a bounty on Omega since she is valuable. And so they decide to, rescue her. And now on the Justifier, Toro reluctantly agrees to let Omega fix his leg. But she tricks him, because when she's repaired it, she turns him off. So that was pretty, clever. And then she takes her comms device. And then after that, the Justifier then lands on this, facility. It looks a bit like Cloud City a little bit, for some weird reason. I don't know why, but I just have a feeling of Cloud City a little bit. And when they land, Bane attempts to contact Toro, but realises that he's not there. So he goes to the prison cell and discovers that Omega's escaped and that Toro's been deactivated. He turns Toro back on, and then they realise that she's escaped and they pursue her. So she runs onto a landing platform and she's able to contact Bad Batch using the comms, but the signal's pretty low, so they have trouble tracing her exact location. So Tech instructs her to, to do several tasks in the station to begin to, to begin to trace her location by activating some door panels and to reroute the circuits in them to overload the main grid. However, it's too late, because Cad Bane catches up to her, and he cuffs her and then takes her. Now, on board the Justifier, however, Toro discovers that an unidentified ship is arriving. So Bane tells him to check it out while he drags Omega. But then as they go through a corridor, however, they somehow hear something up ahead. But then all of a sudden, and they find a Kamino lying on the floor, which is of Tom Wee. So Tom Wee has already been killed. And then it's revealed that her killer is Fennec. So Fennec came back. Oh, wow. And then we got a pretty awesome fight between them. Like, I really wanted a bounty hunter to fight another bounty hunter, and we got it right here. Fennec versus Cad. That was incredible. It was brilliant. Really awesome. And Omega, of course, recognises Fennec as what had been the bounty hunter we saw on Pandora, which was pretty cool. And she runs away, but they both chase after her, because they both want Omega for themselves, to get a bounty. Now, in the chaos, as she's fleeing from them, Omega is able to power up the console, and she finds a transmitter which she uses to send to a Bad Batch, who discovers she's in the LIDAR system, or LIDAR, I don't know how you pronounce it. And then they go to it to rescue her. And in the chaos, Bane is knocked out unconscious by an explosion, so Toro vows to complete his task and not to fail his master. And then meanwhile, Fennec corners Omega in the communications centre, and she claims that her friends won't get to her in time and that she can only rely on herself. And Shan says she killed Tom Wee because it was part of the job. And Shan says that she would thank her because what Lama Su has planned for Omega is far worse than why Fennec is there. And Omega asks what Lama Su wants, and Shan says she already knows the answer. Omega then looks at some very strange life forms in like a green bat. I think it was a bat tank. I have no idea what the green substance was, but they look pretty hideous. Like, they look to be like, Paul the alien from the Paul movie. But yeah, they look pretty gross, to be honest. And Omega's able to use a distraction because Toro arrives, to complete his master's mission. But Omega kicks him into one of the green tanks and it starts to crack open. And then the tank shatters and the creature lands on Shand. And Omega then escapes to a floating platform where she spots some flying pods below. But Bane catches up with her and says that, playtime is over. But Shand uses a net device to knock Bane's blaster out of his hand, and she pulls Omega aside and fights Bane again in hand-to-hand combat. But Bane knocks her down by headbutting her. And then after that, Bane confronts Omega, but Fennec gets back up and fights Bane. So Omega uses it as a distraction to flee down a manhole, and she climbs down a ladder towards the landing platform. But unfortunately, Toro catches up with her and tries to stop her. But Omega instead grabs onto Toro and uses him to fly down, basically. And she's able to control him a bit because he's of course fighting. But luckily she's able to land safely and manages to knock down Toro as he lands. Now, above on the platform, Fennec and Cad Bane continue fighting, and Omega walks past Toro, who is short-circuiting as a result of the crash trauma, and she climbs up the stairs into a flight pod, but Toro recovers and flies up. Fennec and Cad are meanwhile locked in a stalemate because neither of them are winning the fight. Toro then approaches Omega and asks where she's going, but Omega rockets off in the flight pod and escapes. Toro tells her that she'll be sorry for this as he's blasted away by the impact, so yeah. Cad Bane then kicks Fennec in the head, and Toro warns him via his comms that Omega's escaping. He orders Toro to get back into the ship before using his flamethrower, so he uses a dual-wielding flamethrower to fend off Fennec. But, however, Fennec restrains him using her rope drop and she kicks him over the edge. But luckily, he's able to activate his repulsor lifts in his legs to rocket to safety. So luckily, he didn't fall. However, Omega's flight pod runs out of fuel as it's in the clouds. But then luckily, something catches it, which is none other than the Marauder. So a Bad Batch rescued her. And she's very relieved to be there. She hugs them and she's emotional. But yeah, she's very glad to be with them. She asks why all this is happening, and Echo tells, Hunter is encouraged by Echo to tell Omega the truth, and Hunter then tells her that she's more valuable to him than all the other clones, even more than the Bad Batch themselves, and that she's different. Omega then asks how. And that's when we last see the Bad Batch, before we then see on the Justifier again. As they're in the air, flying away, Toro says he's trying tries to get them, flying, but it's revealed that they've been sabotaged. And I think it was Omega doing it before she escaped the ship, maybe. Or maybe it was Fennec when she arrived, maybe. But that was pretty cool, very, very clever. And Bane was very angry as Fennec escaped in her starship. Fennec was then contacted by Nala, who requests an update. And Shan tells her that Omega was rescued by the Bad Batch that she met on Pantor and that she can track them, but it will cost extra. Nala tells Fennec that Omega is safe as long as she is not in the hands of Lama Su, and Nala says that she will transfer her payment, and Shan says that if she changes her mind, she knows how to reach her. Now, while Bad Batch is resting because it's bedtime, Omega walks up to Hunter, and she can't sleep because she can't stop thinking about the Kaminoans. And she doesn't want to end up as an experiment in a tube because she fears that because she's valuable, Lama Su will keep sending bounty hunters after her. Hunter says that Lama Su can send everyone in the galaxy, but she has them. Omega says that, they can't fight them all, but Hunter then tells her not to worry because she's not going back to Kamino. And Omega asks him to promise, and Hunter promises that she won't go back, yeah. And then she smiles at him, and that's when the episode ends, but yeah. This was a fantastic episode of A Bad Batch. It was really amazing. Like, it's hard to say whether it's better or not than the previous one, but I think because of the twist at the end of the previous one, the previous one was better, but still. This was great, really amazing. I loved it. Great visuals as well, great combat, great music by Kevin Kiner. It was really good, fantastic. And great voice cast, I love Corey Burton as Cad Bane, my favourite Star Wars role of his, and Seth Green as Tordor, and definitely Ming-Na Wen, of course, returning as Fennec, which was great as well. And they also got Rena Owen as Tom Wee, and she actually reprises her role from Attack of the Clones, which is pretty amazing. I'm very glad they brought her back for Tom Wee. It's a shame that she didn't appear in the Clone Wars, isn't it? But it's good that, you know, she came back in this, yeah. But sadly, however, she of course got killed off by Fennec, yeah. So guys, this was me reviewing Star Wars: The Bad Batch episode 9 titled Old Bounty Lost. So, you know, a drill, guys, be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to leave comments what you guys thought of today's episode of The Bad Batch if you've seen it. Also, be sure to join Team Bad Batch by pressing subscribe. More videos coming in the future, and may the Force be with you always.